Welcome to Ascend to Earth, the podcast where embodiment is the ascension. I'm Virginia Underwood, your co-host and sacred wisdom keeper, oracle, and earth steward. I'll be joined by my daughter and co-host, Hannah Pearl, soul alchemist, astro herbalist, and intuition mentor. This is a space for the seekers, the sensitives, the cycle breakers, and the wild hearts returning to their truth. Each episode will explore what it means to come home to the body through sacred conversation, emotional alchemy, nervous system healing, ancestral wisdom, and earth-based spirituality. We'll also be sitting in circle with other wisdom keepers, visionaries, and embodied leaders, voices who are here to midwife the new world. Here, we don't escape, we descend, we feel, we root, we rise. Let's ascend to Earth. Today, we are joined with our beautiful friend, Joy. For some reason, I cannot get words to come out. And I'm just going to read you her bio. She writes, "You were never too much. You were just never mirrored by someone who could hold your magic." Joy Schulz is an intuitive mentor, soul guide, and sacred mirror for women who know they're meant for more, but are done performing and pretending to get there. As a 4/6 emotional projector, certified holy fire Reiki, that's a long thing, practitioner, and priestess of goddess Isis, Joy walks a devotional path of remembrance and reclamation. She blends human design, Reiki, oracle wisdom, and soul coaching to guide women into radical self-trust and spiritual sovereignty. Her clients are often recovering perfectionists and people pleasers who've done so much inner work, but still feel like something's missing. For more than 5 years, she's held space for women on the edge of transformation, those navigating identity shifts, untangling religious conditioning, and learning to trust their own rhythm. Her sessions are intuitively led, often steeped in ceremony and ritual, and always infused with warmth, humor, and deep presence. Rooted in Oklahoma with her partner Jack and her familiar shadow, Joy drums in the woods, devours fantasy books like candy, and crochets magic into everything she makes. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and so fun that we get to do this on a podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I love our personal conversations, and now we get to record them, and I'm just excited.
Yes,
Yay.
yay. So I would love for you to tell our listeners more about yourself.
Yeah, so that's a big question. Um,
Right.
the bio gave a tidbit for sure, but a little bit deeper. I grew up in a cult, and if you've seen the documentary on Amazon Prime, Shiny Happy People, that gives you a really good look as to how I was raised with that high control religion, all the types of trauma. And being groomed for the trauma that would happen in my 20s and early 30s. And I was homeschooled. So, as much as I love the homeschool journey, that along with the cult really kept me in a really small bubble and helped to proliferate and protect the abuse. And so then I was in that cult until my late 20s when I got divorced and began the journey of finding out who I really was. Because at that point, I was excommunicated from the church because I failed at the one job a woman was supposed to have of being that servant and help meet to my husband. And I was damaged goods at that point. And at that point, my gym people loved me more than the church people did. And that was a big wake up call for me. And I really then began the journey of I've spent all my life being in trauma and I didn't even realize it was trauma at that point in my journey, but I just knew that life had to be more. There had to be more than the survival and this depression. And so I started taking my life back one piece at a time. I started with my physical fitness. I did CrossFit, and I started to feel that I could have that internal power as opposed to this sky daddy who was supposed to support me. And I started to feel that I could trust myself, I could trust my body. And that led me on a journey that then culminated with 4 car accidents in 5 years as the universe tried to get my attention, a fall down the stairs, massive concussions, all these things because I wasn't listening. I didn't know how to listen. I didn't know how, like, I knew my body could be strong and I could trust it, but I didn't know how to feel my body. I didn't know how to feel my emotions. I didn't know how to identify the emotions. They were just this big swirl of energy just in my body. And I grew up being trained that logic was the way. And so it was a long journey. And then over the past 7 years, I've really dived into my spirituality and the healing that has come from that. And while the core of me may still be the same, I am a completely different person than I was after all of those years of trauma. And it's really been a true reclamation journey for me, reclaiming those bits of my soul and my personality that I'd given away, that I'd shunned, that I'd listened to everybody else when they told me that I was too much or that I was not enough. And for the first time in my life, I love who I am. I love the journey that I have been on, and I'm grateful for every part of the journey, no matter how hard it's been. And in preparation for this, you asked me what the most transformational moments of my life were, and I feel like I've had so many that it's hard to pick because it's especially the last several years as I've embodied that phoenix archetype of that death and rebirth. Every time I've been aware of something, okay, well, let's let that part die, let's let that go so that I can ascend, so that I can go deeper into myself.
And just in the, brief, truly time that we've known you, we have gotten to witness some of that transformation. And I have to say, it's been truly inspirational.
Yes,
Thank
it's
you.
beautiful to watch you blossom and glow and come into more of yourself, you know?
Thank you. It's been a wild couple of years that I've known you.
That's for sure. Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story. And I would love to, because this podcast is called Ascend to Earth, and really we're talking about like embodied wisdom, right? So what would you say that term ascend to earth means to you?
To me, it's really about coming into my body. And I identify as a star seed. And so, a common struggle amongst star seeds are that we often feel like we're not at home here on Earth. And so, for me, it's been about anchoring my light, and being that bridge from the cosmos and the heavenly and the divine, and anchoring that into my body, allowing my soul to have this body and to be in this moment and to be grounded into this life and this moment. And it's that I also that idea of everyday mysticism of having the sacred be the ordinary and the ordinary be the sacred, and not having that distinction between the two. And so it's about bringing your light all the way down into your toes. It's really anchoring that in your body.
I love that. That is so great. Bringing your light all the way down to your toes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is beautiful. Um, there's something else I was going to ask about that, but it totally left my mind. So we'll come back. Um, so what do you feel that the role of your ancestors, of nature, um, and your community play in like your path and your how you've embodied that light?
So nature has been a big one, and it's only been recently that I've really noticed how it's been with me my entire life. I was always the kid, in the 90s, you get shut outside, don't come back in, drink water out of the hose, like just go be, right? And that taught me to lean on nature, to watch the clouds, to look at the ladybugs crawling across my blanket. And my ladybug was my first spirit animal that she's been with me my entire life. And so it's been about you learning to be in nature and to get comfortable with it, but also to know that it's a tool that I can use. When I'm feeling dysregulated, I go outside with my drum or just barefoot and allow myself to feel the breeze on my face or the sun on my skin, and feel nature and be in nature and allow myself to regulate my nervous system with nature, as opposed to trying to just do it on my own. Um, and it's also like with my ancestors, I feel like so much of my life, my design, is about honoring those ancestral rhythms and bringing them into the community. Um, I have in what human design we call a lot of tribal energy. So it's a lot of bringing that medicine and those ancestral rhythms into the modern day community. And that's one thing I love doing with my women's drum circles, because women were drummers. We women were the first drummers. Um, and then community, again, bringing that medicine to community, but also allowing myself to be held by community and not feeling like I need to do it all alone. And so for me, community and nature are co-regulation. My ancestors, they're always with me. They're always whispering in meditations or when I'm in ritual. And I just always remember that I'm never alone, that I'm always connected, that we're all one. So whether that's I'm one with nature, or I'm one with my ancestors, or I'm one with the community of people that I'm in at that particular moment, and just understanding that we're all one, that we're all reflections and mirrors of each other, and that it's co-regulation, co-creation.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so true. And I think that's a beautiful way to put it. Um, I know like that you are really into human design, and I'm just curious about like when that started for you and how you were brought to human design.
Yeah, that's a great question. So human design has been the basis of one of the transformations of my life. It was one of the first times that I first truly was able to question of, oh, maybe I'm not broken, maybe I'm just not trying to live in the same way that society says I'm supposed to. Um, and so it has allowed me to see myself and see how I was designed. And they call it the science of differentiation. And it's really about understanding how unique we all are and celebrating that uniqueness and that diversity. Because, Hannah, for example, you're a projector the same as I am, but we have enough differences that, say, working with a client, one client who may really fit well with me might not fit well with you just because of how we work differently. So, at the high level, yes, we're both projectors. We both see between the lines. We both absorb all that energy, but at the same time, we operate differently. We have different gifts. We are very different people. So I actually found, or I found human design, it found me, which however you want to say that, in February of 2020. I actually had my first reading for my birthday present to myself that year. And like I said, it was the first time that I realized, oh, I'm not broken. And it allowed me to begin to see all the conditioning. And I will have to say it was quite overwhelming at that point. But it was brought to me, I believe, because it is such a powerful system of showing you all that conditioning and programming and helping you to remember that wholeness that you already have. Because most of my life I was living opposite of my design. I was trying to be this manifesting generator who was always going, always innovating, always using everybody else's opinions for how I was supposed to go. So, like, it was a very misaligned manifesting generator. And the more that I have leaned into how I am designed, and I lean into, I don't have to change who I am, I just get to embody who I already am and stop fighting that. It's been a absolute game changer that's then led me to realize that I'm autistic, I'm ADHD. My emotions are my guiding light. That's how I make decisions. It's not how I was raised, that my emotions are my flaws and my faults. And so it's really been a journey of being able to see myself through a lens of acceptance and compassion, um, and also then just giving me the tools to be able to work with that and be able to shed that conditioning and to let it go. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's so important because we are so unique and different. And I think there's also, it can be hard to see who you really are. So having a tool that kind of helps you to navigate
Yes,
and
exactly.
keep peeling apart the layers, you know?
Right. It's such a multi-layered system
Mhm.
because it's based on astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra systems, quantum physics. Like, it's so nuanced that even having been working with the system for 5 years and studying it so that I can work with clients and I use it in my business, every time I read or study something, I'm finding that next layer, that next level of nuance that's allowing me to peel those layers back even further. So it's not just something that we pick up for a moment like a personality test. I was the queen of personality tests before I found human design because I just wanted to understand myself. But what I realized was that the personality tests were just reflecting back the conditioning. They were reflecting back the trauma. They weren't actually helping me see who I was designed to be, and that was ultimately what I was wanting to understand.
Mhm. Like how to use your own energy, not just like some. I like the way you said that too, because it really paints a picture of like it's like some of those personality tests are just reflecting things, but not really showing you how to utilize the
Yes,
energy that you have and how to like on a daily, I feel like it's very practical on a daily
yes,
basis. Like, how do I operate? What's my best way, my best strategy for um uh, living?
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I also want to talk about this idea of brokenness and how this plays into this because, like you're saying with these personality tests, they're almost reflecting back, or what you said is they reflect back that conditioning, which then keeps us in this mindset that we are broken and we need to be fixed.
Yes, exactly. And coming to terms with the fact that I'm not broken, that I am actually perfect, has been a wild ride in and of itself. I'll never forget the first day that it dropped in that I am perfect as I am. I've just been using everybody else's measuring sticks to tell me that I wasn't. Like, I have tears coming behind my eyes because it was such a pivotal moment. Because I had heard my entire life that I was broken, that I needed to change, that I needed to be more palatable for other people,
Mhm.
that I was broken because I had so many emotions, such big emotions, and I didn't know how to process them. So I often bled them onto everyone around me. And so I was always told all the things. And I, I don't know how many times I would tell my partners, I feel so broken. I feel so broken. And coming to understand that I am perfect already. Like, this is how I was designed, that I am whole already. Yes, there may be parts of me that I want to shift, or there may be parts of me that I'm like, yeah, that still doesn't feel good. I want to let go. But knowing that I am already amazing, I don't have to change. I don't have to be someone different to be accepted. It's been an absolute game changer, and that's happened over the course of the last several years as I have dove into my human design, as I have worked with incredible healers like yourself, to help me to be able to process the things that were coming up. Because so often, and this is why the power of being held is so potent, because so often when we're trying to do things on our own, we have these big emotions, we have those old scripts and programming coming up, and it feels so true because that's the neural pathways that we've been operating in. And it's so powerful to be held by someone else, to have that reflection back of maybe there's a different way of looking at this. Maybe there's a ritual that you can do to help you to move through this, or to just be witnessed in that moment. We don't always have to change things. Sometimes we just have to be witnessed. But coming back to the brokenness piece, our brains will find evidence for whatever story we are looking to prove. And so when we're telling ourselves the stories that we're broken, we'll find the things to validate that. But on the same flip side, the more that we look at how are the ways that I'm already beautiful, how are the ways that I'm already perfect, and we look for that evidence, that begins to change those neural pathways. And along with that grace and compassion that we begin to build for ourselves, that's how we begin to shift from the brokenness mindset, that victim, everything's happened to me, to I'm already whole. Life is happening for me. I just have to be open.
Yeah, it's a powerful shift. I think that question, just shifting the question alone,
Yes,
into something, instead of thinking of all the ways that we are broken and flawed, how, what if it, what if, what if it is perfect? What if this is all, all of these things that are happening beyond our conscious awareness? So we don't even see. Well, and actually, this brings me to someone said this the other day about perfectionism. And she was saying, you're not a perfectionist, you're critical of yourself. And then she was saying a perfectionist would look for the perfection in everything. And I really liked that reframe. So it's like, how can you find the perfection that already exists in everything around you, within you, and look and train your mind to look for the perfection.
yes. And a friend of mine posted on her Substack a couple of months ago looking at the etymology behind the word perfect. And really and truly, it's not a standard, it's not a without quote flaw. It's just simply being done.
Mm.
It's simply something have been created. So therefore, I am sitting here today. Therefore, I've been created. Therefore, I am perfect just as I am. Love that.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, when you look out in nature and you just, I mean, it's perfect. It's
It
you can
is.
be in awe of like this beautiful scene. Um, and we are nature.
We are.
There is a purpose. Like nature doesn't do anything without a purpose. Everything about us is purposeful. We just might not see it.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, it kind of brings me back to learning my human design. I was taught that logic was the only way, that that's how you made your decisions, and that my emotions were bad. And so then learning that, oh no, my emotions are actually my gift. They're actually my compass. They're actually my portal and my feedback. was huge, because it was like, oh, I am actually perfect the way I am. I don't have to question. Um, I mean, looking at the trees behind you, they're not sitting there questioning, am I in the right spot because Hannah wants to sit here? They're just there. They're just existing. And so, like with me and my emotions, just understanding that they're just part of me, that they don't have to judge them, that they just get to be, is huge.
That reminds me of a movie that I watched years ago. That it was the guy was a marketing person for Nike, and he was talking about he was creating an ad for running shoes, and he said something about like the road doesn't judge me when I run on it. And that has stuck with me for years, like you're saying, the trees don't they don't care who's watching them. They don't care what's happening. They're just existing. They're just growing.
Mhm.
And it can be the same for us.
Yes.
We don't have to think about how we need to be or who we need to be in order to be what somebody else needs from us. We can just simply be ourselves. And I love that there are tools like human design that can help us to really see, because this information that you present to people in their human design is probably not new to them. It's probably something that they're like, oh yeah, that's true, I do that. But maybe, like that just came out of my mouth, they didn't recognize it before,
Right.
or they didn't value it because it wasn't something that was valued in their family of origin or in their culture or their community.
Yes, that is something I see a lot with clients actually, is that we get into unraveling and decoding their design, and realizing, oh, that is part of me. I have always done that. I just always thought I was wrong for doing it that way. Or I thought that, I didn't realize that I was already embodying my design. I thought I had to change and be somebody different. And that it's really potent to be able to see those things about yourself and to value them. One thing that most people struggle with, but especially those that do not have a sacral center defined, is that until we see ourselves, others can't truly see us. We say we want all of this success and we say we want all this visibility, but until we see ourselves and truly accept and value ourselves, nobody else can see those things, because we're hiding under masks. We're hiding under who we think we should be in order to be accepted and loved. And when you were just saying that, it was a big aha moment for me and my business, even because a big thing with me launching my Substack this year has been about writing for me, knowing that it will impact others. But what if I do the same thing with my social media? What if I just show up as me, knowing that that is enough, and not trying to write posts that talk to my ideal client? What if I'm just me? What if I let that be enough?
Yes.
Uh,
I think that's so important in this day and age when there's so much information, with social media and the internet, and of just like, this is how you should run your business and this is how you should do all these things. And it's so important to understand that we all have, and I feel like human design does this, it shows you that you have your own roadmap and your own unique path that cannot be duplicated, and only you can find that. And when you
Exactly.
like taking your clients, it's like you're not showing them, what to look at, you're showing them where,
Yes.
you're kind of revealing, helping them to find their own, holding them as they find and uncover their own roadmap to success and whatever that looks like for themselves. And yeah, it doesn't come from all the strategies and all this like stuff that's just floating around. If it worked for all of these people and all these different things work for all these people, then there's your answer.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like you can feel it too. When someone's
Totally.
like doing something, it's embodied, more embodied when it's coming from a place of like, I'm doing this because I love it, because this was transformational for me. This was impactful for me. And so I'm just going to share from my heart, not from that mental space of, I gotta say it this way.
Yes, exactly.
What are some tools that you have used to help yourself with valuing yourself?
Um, so one of them has been going through my human design chart and building out a list of affirmations based on each one of the different parts. And I literally have it. I've put it together as part of like a faceted gemstone, like if you just saw the facets laid out. And in each part, I've got, I am an orchestrator. I let's see, I envision an outcome, and I can't quite read it from here. But anyway, it's a list of affirmations based on my design so that even when I'm wobbling, I can look back at that and remind myself of who I really am. And it's even more potent when I do it in front of the mirror, obviously, because that mirror work is so powerful and potent. But remembering who I am and having those affirmations when I wobble, having the tools of drumming or playing the flute or even just dancing to help me to get back into my body. Um, and then just also the power of just stillness and just being with whatever I'm feeling rather than feeling like I need to fix it. Because so often when we're in a low, we just want to get back to that high. And as opposed to sometimes truly the best thing that we can do is just to sit in it, just to feel it, and then allow ourselves to express that without judgment. One of the things that we talked about in the women's drum circle that I led last night was about feeling our feelings, but then not judging ourselves when we express them. So even if we are banging on the drum hard to express those deep, say, rage or grief or depression, not to judge ourselves when we express those things. So, coming back to the body as much as possible. Breath is another big one. Even if you're just sitting at a stoplight feeling that your heart's racing and just giving yourself some box breathing or some slow wave breath where you're in and out, no pause, like those are so regulating to the nervous system. So, I guess I would say regulate the nervous system, whatever that looks like to you, because the nervous system, we can only hold as much joy as our nervous system allows. And we've spent so much time in the trauma and the those heavy, dark feelings that it can really trip out our nervous system when we then are trying to experience those highs or moving toward that. So no matter what you're feeling, I would say come back to that nervous system regulation. Find that calm and that peace in your body because your body does truly know what's up and it's the basis for everything else.
Right.
Yes.
And it wants to be in homeostasis. It wants to be regulated. And so if you give it that space and just allow it, there's not a whole lot that you actually have to do.
Right.
That's our natural design as
That's
humans,
right.
is to come
Yeah.
back to is to come back to homeostasis, to balance. Would you
Exactly.
say also that human design is um is a tool for balancing?
Most definitely. From the from so many aspects. For example, there's 64 gates in the human design system that correspond with the 64 DNA. And so there's an archetype for each one. But each of us only have about half of those turned on or activated. And so Or like when you look at your human design chart and you see that some of your centers are defined and some of them are not, it really helps to give you like a soul curriculum for this life and allowing you to see, okay, what are the things that I'm here to learn and experience? Whether it's, okay, I have consistently have this energy or I don't, and I'm having to learn what that feels like when I'm in relationship with other people. Um, but it really allows us to see that we are whole in ourselves and finding that balance. We don't have to be all things to all people. That's I guess what I'm trying to get at with, only parts of things activated or turned on in the chart, because we're not meant to be all things to all people. We're meant to be us. And so by seeing your soul curriculum, for example, it tells you where you have that consistency and where you don't, what's yours, what's not, and allowing you to see, like, for example, I have part of my soul curriculum is learning to rest. Rest is a superpower for projectors because that's where we process all the energy. That's where we have the space for the aha moments, where we allow all of that energy to flow. But it's about balance, because if all I'm doing is resting and I'm not connecting with other people, I'm not connecting with spirit, then, and if all I'm doing is resting, then I'm not fulfilling the part of my design that is all about being in community and bringing those ancestral practices and rhythms into the present. But at the same time, if I'm only doing and I'm not resting, I can't show up for my clients. I can't hold ceremony because I'm so exhausted. And I can't be that clear, rested channel to receive that information that I need to receive for myself or for my clients or whatever we're doing. And so it really allows you to see, okay, where are the points where balance is going to be trickier for me? And where are the points where I naturally lean into it? And allowing yourself to see that allows you, with that awareness, to then begin putting those things in place, adjusting your priorities. I've recently adjusted mine where it's life and me first and then my business. So it's opened up just a shifting of that priority so that now I'm focused on me. So I'm working out more. I'm actually doing yoga. I'm actually taking walks. I'm actually having my time outside with my drum, as opposed to feeling like, oh, well, it's 10 a.m. I should be at my desk. And I'm seeing, with that better balance, so much more joy and productivity because it's coming back into that balance.
Yes. We have this idea that productivity means that I am working straight from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But true productivity does not look like that. And you could work from 8 to 5 and get this much done. Or you could do what you're saying, take that time to rest, to recharge your battery, however that looks, and then go in and work for 2 hours and accomplish as much, if not more, in those 2 hours than somebody who's worked all day can do.
Yes, exactly. And I have so found that to be true for me.
It's like the inner child, that little inner child. I mean, when you look at children and they have like, sometimes it seems like they have this like endless supply of energy, but they're also sitting there, not having to be anything different than who they are. They're just seeped in their own energy and being, when they're playing and it's like, where did it happen that we thought that we needed to stop playing and stop being, so I feel productivity is like doing, I've got to do all this stuff, but like we can really, our inner child still needs that playtime, that recess, that like reset to
Yeah.
just be and do without having to have a reason for it. Like I want to paint because I want to. I don't need to, it's not like I need to go sell this piece or whatever, and that's why I have to do this. I need the motivation to No, because simply just because.
Because it feels good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would our adult life look like if we allowed ourselves recess? Like what if we called it recess as opposed to, oh, I'm just gonna go rest. I'm just gonna go lay down. What if we said, oh, I'm gonna have recess now? Like
Yeah,
even just saying that in my body feels so much more playful.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yay.
Yeah. And to speak to something you said, Hannah, like where did that stop? I mean, if you look at the progression through our, public education system, we start off as little ones having several recesses and art mixed into our class and creativity, like being able to use more of that, uh, you know, just your own essence in what you're creating, what you're doing. But then as you move through school, like by the time we get to fifth grade, you only have one recess at lunch and it's like 15 minutes. So there's no, and the creativity is taken out of so much. Like maybe you have an art class if they haven't cut the funding for that.
Well, and a lot of times it's an elective that you choose as you get
Exactly.
older. It doesn't become required,
Right.
which is actually kind of mind-blowing,
Right.
especially if you think of like, I mean, what's the one thing that has lasted through all of humanity?
Art.
Yeah,
Art.
exactly. How do we tell our stories?
Right.
Art.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Yes. And art
So,
and
oh, go ahead.
creativity is at the basis of what we do. We say we want to create this life, but then we shut down our creativity.
Yes.
Right. And we use somebody else's formula for living,
Yes.
which doesn't align with our design, doesn't align with the truth of who we are at our core,
Yes.
which cuts people off from that creativity. And they don't even know who they are or how to be creative, even
Yeah.
though you're doing it in some way or another all throughout your day, right?
Yes. I'll never forget a conversation I was having a couple of years ago, and a friend was asking me what I was doing for creativity. And I was like, well, I haven't been crocheting lately. And that was it. That was the end of my thought process. And she was like, but haven't you been creative in your business? Haven't you been creative in your decision making process? Haven't you been creative in all these other ways that we don't think of as creative because it's not, say, an art, a painting, or a novel? And we discount that creativity, but we infuse it in every part of our life, whether we recognize that or not.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's life force
So,
energy. Sorry. That's like the same thing that makes our heart beat. That's the same thing that opens a flower. That's the same, that's the that's the energy that's coursing through everything. And I feel like that, I mean, with like bringing it back to human design, having like open centers and being able, like, trying to like cram all this energy into these open centers that blocks that creative flow from happening instead of just allowing the space to be open because
Yes.
there's all the pressure, from the outside. Like I've got to be this certain way. I've got to fix this. I got to fill the void kind of thing. And then we block
Exactly.
life from unfolding.
Yes, we really do. And to speak on the open centers, that's where you're absorbing other people's energy and ideas and like whatever that center is. And when you don't realize that that's not your energy, it can completely throw you off course because you're identifying with someone else's energy and thinking that it's yours and thinking that you need to respond to that or you need to be that as opposed to just realizing, oh, that's not mine. I get to play with that energy for a little bit, and then I get to go be in my own energy and come back to neutral.
been a big thing. It's been a big thing for me. I have like two defined centers and the rest are open. My
Yes.
whole life I've been thinking I'm like a certain way, then to come to find out, no, no, no.
Yeah, you're literally here to meet life with curiosity and openness.
Yes, feels very true.
Yes.
So before we wrap this up, is there anything that is alive in your heart that you would like to share with people?
Mm. One of the biggest things that I see when I work with a new client is that they come in with all these ideas of how they are not enough or how they are too much. And that often correlates to their open versus defined centers. So often the open centers are where we feel we're not enough, and the defined centers are where we feel that we're too much. Um, and so I would just say that that's old conditioning, that's false, that you are already whole, you are already perfect in the way that you are. And it may feel overwhelming at times to see all the conditioning and the programming or the ways that things don't feel good in your life right now. But by seeing those things, it allows you to then change them. Everything starts with awareness. So you're not broken. You're not something that needs to be fixed. This is that you just need to learn to see yourself, to love yourself in the way that source loves you, in the way that others love you, and accepting that because you are not too much. You are not enough. You are perfect and whole just as you are. So allow yourself the process of caterpillar to chrysalis to butterfly and allow yourself to be in each one of those phases.
Thank you. Is there ways that people can connect with you once after they watch this?
Sure. I'm on Instagram as Radical Joyfulness. My website is radicaljoyfulness.com, and my Substack is Alchemy Between the Lines.
Perfect. And we will have those links down below. All right. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Hannah?
I'm just really grateful that we could sit here and have this conversation with you. And I think, yeah, everything you shared was just beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you. This has been fun and enlightening, and my energy body is just singing. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yay. It's such a pleasure always to be in your energy and get to, share space and have these beautiful conversations. So thank you again for joining us. And thank you all for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.